Good morning, everybody. Today I am going to be showing a video that I made talking about why I feel broke even though on paper my finances are fine. Uh, Meaning I have a job, pays pretty good, I have money in my bank accounts and my savings accounts. All my bills are getting paid. I'm not late on anything. I'm headed in the right direction, getting my debt paid off. So even though I have a lot of work to do, I should be fine because I have a plan. My employment is secure, and but I feel a lot of anxiety, and I just feel broke. And that's probably actually a good thing because it keeps me from spending money, I guess. But so I looked up online to see, why. I asked the question. I asked Google, and Google gave me a pretty good answer. And so I decided to make a presentation with that information, telling my story basically. So what follows is that presentation that I made. It sounds kind of echoey, but I'm still learning how to do all this, so I apologize for that. So hopefully, the next time I do something like this, I'll have figured out how to make the sound not sound echoey like it does. So anyway, I hope that you watch the whole thing and get back to me what your thoughts are. All right. Thank you very much. Why do I feel broke even though I'm doing fine? The short answer is childhood trauma. The long answer is complicated, but it has to do with money insecurities and anxieties. The question is, am I broke or am I doing fine? This morning, while having my morning coffee, I asked myself a question that might sound familiar. Why do I feel broke even though my bills are paid, I have a good income, and I have money in the bank? So I asked my AI assistant Eileen, do you like that, Eileen? AI Lean? And her answer really hit home. I want to share her answer with you today. This morning, when I typed my question into Google, there were several possible answers to my question. But to be honest, they all seem to apply to me in some form or fashion. The most surprising, the one I have never heard of before, is called money dysmorphia. Here's a list of all of the answers my AI assistant told me. Money dysmorphia, scarcity mindset, emotional spending, fear of the unknown, lifestyle creep, high fixed expenses, and uncertainty and a lack of planning. Now, before I start reading the information that I got from Google, I first of all want to tell you that you should absolutely do your own research. I am not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. I have a very torrid history with finances, and I'm just trying to learn about finances myself, and I'm just trying to make good decisions. And to be honest, I feel like I'm always making bad decisions, so which is one reason why I have so much anxiety. But the information that I'm reading here came directly from Google. So if you have other information that might be of benefit to me, please tell me about it because I am open to learning 100% of the time. So, money dysmorphia is a distorted, irrational perception of your financial situation regardless of your actual wealth. It is influenced by social media comparisons, and it can cause feelings of inadequacy or anxiety about financial ruin even if you are stable. And I feel like this definitely applies to me because I have heard people on YouTube talking about what they consider a good income. And I would definitely fall into that category of having a quote unquote good income. And my bills have always been paid. I have always been able to pay my bills. I've never been intentionally late on anything. I can't remember the last time I was late on a bill. All of my debts are paid. That taken into consideration, or maybe I should say way back in my early 20s, I did have a problem with my debt, but I had gotten some really bad advice back then, and so I definitely made some mistakes in regards to my debt. But um, in recent years, and probably the last 20 years, 25 years even, I haven't had any problems paying my bills. I've had an income that was consistent. And even though I've not consistently had money in the bank, I've always kind of lived on the edge. There's earlier this year in January, I was actually to the point where I was very much concerned that I wouldn't be able to pay the bills, and I got things pulled together, and so I have had money in the bank, and I've been able to pay my bills. And so on paper, I should not have any anxiety about my finances. So as a result of this money dysmorphia, I definitely feel inadequate, and I'm constantly worried about losing my job or just some life event happening that's going to make it that I can't cover it. So the next one is scarcity mindset. And scarcity mindset is a belief that there is never enough money to go around, which often stems from childhood experiences with financial instability or a past financial trauma. This mindset can persist even after your finances improve, causing you to constantly fear running out of resources. And this is 100% me. When I was young, I lived with my mom. My parents were divorced. I never personally I never said, we always had a roof over our heads. We always had food on the table. We always had clothes and that sort of thing. But my entire life was all about not having enough money to really do anything. We just had the ends meeting, and that was it. And really, it was as an adult that I found out I've got a better idea. I shouldn't say the full extent, but I got a better idea about how bad things were financially with my mom. And my dad never helped. He never paid child support. He always said that he was laid off, or he didn't have enough money to pay child support, and if mom couldn't afford to take care of us, then we could go live with him, and things like that. And it was just, one thing after another in regards to about how our parents could not afford to, take care of us, I guess. But honestly, I always had a roof over my head. I always had food. I'm not. It's irrational. It's absolutely irrational. But when you're told, maybe not daily, but frequently, you're told that there's not enough money to do anything, go anywhere, or do anything extra besides food, clothing, and a house, and so I don't know all the details because I was a kid at the time. Obviously, my parents aren't going to tell me any details, but they always said there was not enough money, and Dad never paid child support. So I've had a lifetime of fear of being laid off, and that's been my entire adult life. I knew from childhood that if you were laid off, then you were in financial straits. You couldn't afford anything because you were laid off. and it was drilled into my head, and I still carry that with me today. And now I've made a point my whole life to make sure that I have money, one way or another. I have money to support my family. And but now looking back, and now I kind of wonder if I have done the exact same thing to my son. I feel like I probably have. I think I've probably told him 100 times that we don't have enough money. And now, of course, I worry about him that he's going to have these fears as well. So the next one is emotional spending. Emotional spending is impulsive spending to cope with financial stress and anxiety, which can lead to a vicious cycle of spending and guilt. Some even feel intense guilt when spending money on necessary or enjoyable items, leading to excessive frugality. And I can tell you that I am the queen of impulsive spending. I don't I don't even know where to start. I have spent probably 90% of my discretionary income impulsively. Instead of saving it, I would I bought jewelry, I bought computers and technology, cars, bought a house once, sewing machines, fabric, just everything, everything, hobbies. Just, I feel like 90% of the money that I spent was really probably impulsive. And so, of course, after you get that past that, the high of spending money, then you have the crash of feeling guilty of spending the money. And I can't blame anybody but myself, but I would definitely have appreciated it if somebody had, maybe taught me about finances when I was growing up, and nobody did. My mom didn't, I didn't learn it in school. Um, I I feel like, I should have done more to learn about money and savings and correct spending behaviors and stuff like that. But I really didn't until I was an adult, and then it has taken many, many, many years for it to actually start becoming ingrained in my way of thinking. So the next one is fear of the unknown. Even with substantial assets, the unpredictability of the future, such as economic downturns or unexpected life events, can cause stress and worry. And this fear can lead you to believe your savings are never quite enough to handle every potential challenge. And this is super, super true. I am, especially now that I'm older, I'm in my 50s, and I see my mom really in dire straits with her health, and not having any money to really see to her needs, and even her technically being really homeless. If it wasn't for my sister and I really providing her a place to live, I'm not even sure where she would be. And so I think about these things as they apply to me. It's like, am I going to be in that same situation when I'm her age? And you hear about things in the news, and people losing their houses for whatever reason, and their cars, and having to live in their cars and things like that. And I even remember one time when I was a kid, my mom told me to make sure I always made my car payment in case I ever had to live in my car. And you know what? I don't know if she was joking. She might have been, but I don't know. The next one is lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep occurs when your spending increases as your income grows, preventing you from building significant savings. Instead of saving extra money, your needs expand to match your new income, making you feel financially stretched despite higher earnings. And this is so true for me. I can tell you that there have been times when I would be, sitting around drinking coffee, surfing the net or whatever, and I would check my bank balances and I might have, $200 available on my credit card or even in my checking account, and I would go online and I would spend that money. I would usually buy fabric or something like that, and I was like fine with it. It just I don't. It boggles my mind now that I was doing that, but I was. I would check, see if all my bills were paid, make sure I didn't have anything coming up, and then I would buy something online. So the next one is high fixed expenses. Having a large portion of your income tied up in fixed costs such as a mortgage, rent, or car payments can leave you with little discretionary income. And this can make you feel broke even when you earn a high salary. And I can tell you that I have bought a car knowing that I had just enough money left in my budget to make a car payment, and I didn't have to do that. I had a car that was completely paid off. But I was afraid of something happening to my 20-year-old vehicle that I was driving, and I was afraid that one day it wouldn't start and I would not have good enough credit or enough money to buy another car. And so I made the conscious decision to go buy another car while I had the credit to do it with. Another thing I did was many years ago, probably 15, 19, 18 years ago, a long time ago, I had a wonderful, beautiful, beautiful house, and my mortgage payment was low. It was actually under $1,000 a month, and this was back in 2005. And I got myself into so much debt, like buying furniture and other stuff, that I couldn't make the payments anymore. Well, I couldn't, my whole budget was tied up. There was no extra money left over in my budget, and my paycheck was gone. And so I refinanced my house that I had a low payment on it. I had a low interest rate on it. I refinanced it just so that I could have enough money to pay all of the debt I had accrued and the house payment. And it was probably the biggest mistake I've ever made in regards to refinancing, because I think it was like a 4% interest, and if I had not spent all that money on furniture and whatnot, taking mom out to eat all the time, I was probably going to Walmart, and I'd go to, I think it was one of those big box stores, BJ or Sam's Club, one of those places, and I was spending like $400 a week at like Walmart and these places. I take my mom out almost every week, and it was so much money. I was maxed out on all my credit cards, and I refinanced so I could make the payments. And it just never even occurred to me that what I was doing was just wrong on so many levels. So the next one is uncertainty and lack of planning. If you don't have a clear picture of where your money is going, you can feel out of control. An honest assessment of your income, expenses, and savings can provide clarity and reduce anxiety. So now I still experience uncertainty, but I'm a planning fool. I'm planning for everything now, and it's just I'm afraid to make any money moves at all without analyzing it first. But there was a time when there was no plan. The plan was to spend the money, and that was it. So the cycle of financial stress. The connection between your mental health and finances can create a vicious cycle. Feeling stressed. Financial anxiety can cause mental health issues like depression, insomnia, and fatigue. Making poor financial choices, and this stress can lead to financial avoidance, for example, not checking bank balances or impulse shopping to feel better temporarily. and increased stress. These behaviors worsen your financial situation, causing even more stress and reinforcing the feeling of being broke. So obviously all three of these things have applied to me in the past, and as a result I am constantly stressed out today because of my poor financial choices of the past. And really all I can do now is just constantly remind myself that I'm facing in the right direction and making steps in the right direction towards getting my debt paid off and being more financially responsible. How to address the feeling of being broke. So these are some solutions that AI has suggested. First one is schedule regular financial check-ins. Track your income and expenses and check your account balances. And I'm doing both of those things now. Creating a budget, which creates a sense of control, creates a clear path towards your goals. It empowers you and it counters feelings of hopelessness. So I have budgets now, which does give me a sense of control. And the fact that I have a budget and a savings plan, at least an attempt to a savings plan, assuming that there's no emergent issues, it does create a clear path towards my goals, even if reaching those goals is not always a flawless process. I definitely feel more empowered than I used to, and once again that goes back to, well, I compare where I am now to where I was before, and I'm just really grateful and thankful that thankfully I'm not doing the things I was in the past. And so this self-control, this feeling of control, helps to counter feelings of being hopeless. And unfortunately, I still feel kind of hopeless, which is what kind of led to this video, I guess. Just I was feeling hopeless. But so I'm working on that hopelessness part. So the next solution says identify your money stories. Consider how your childhood or past financial experiences shaped your beliefs about money. Identifying and challenging these limiting beliefs is a key step toward reshaping your money mindset. And I do actually do this. I've done it, for years, really, thinking of the financial past from, when I was a kid and even as an adult. And sometimes it's a hole that I fall into that's kind of hard to get out, because then I start kind of beating myself up about it. But now, instead of beating myself up about it, I need to say the past was pretty ugly financially speaking, but the future is kind of bright. And if I just keep on this path, then I'm not going to let my experiences from my childhood or my past derail me from being successful in the future. The next says set small achievable goals, focusing on manageable steps like saving a small amount each week or pay off one small debt can build confidence and momentum. And I'm definitely doing those things. I know that a lot of financial advisors would say to do automatic savings, but the act of actually saving money every week gives me something to look forward to every week, and it does make me feel so good to look back and see every single Friday for the last, in this case, 9 months, every single Friday I have put money into my savings account intentionally. I made a plan and I've stuck to that plan, but that does not mean I never use the money in my savings accounts. I saved it so I could use it for something else down the road, and I'm so proud of myself for doing that. And I did start, of course, the debt payoff journey, doing the snowball method, basically paying down the the smallest debt first. And it's wonderful to look back and see the debts I have paid off, in the last couple of years. The last one is reduce social media exposure. It says limit comparison with others by cutting back on platforms that fuel unrealistic financial expectations. And I gotta tell you that I do envy people who do the cash stuffing videos and the budgeting videos where they're budgeting so much money and they really seem to have it together with their finances. And I know that I'm not there yet. I hope to be there someday, and I really intend to be there. I plan to be there, and I will be there someday. But I am kind of envious or maybe even jealous of people who have no debt and who are cash stuffing, thousands of dollars a week or a month. And I'm just striving. I don't want to be like other people, but they do inspire me to be the best person that I can be. And maybe someday I'll be able to have a budget that doesn't have a debt line item, and I'll be able to put all of my income into cash envelopes. So the next one is focus on gratitude. Practicing gratitude for what you have can help shift your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. And I have definitely tried to do that more often. I'm grateful for my employer. I'm grateful for my son who helps pay for household expenses. Also, once again, comparing myself to other people. There are people who are so much worse off than I am, and I feel for people who are struggling, and I I can't fix other people's problems though. I can just try my best to make sure that I'm making good decisions. And I really constantly feel like I'm just one paycheck away from the street, and I'm one paycheck away from a catastrophe. And I just, it's a heavy burden. So I've just really tried to be grateful for the people in my life and for really the blessings that I have, the home and clothing and food and my son and my family. And the last one is seek professional help. If your anxiety feels overwhelming, consider talking to a financial therapist who can help you address the emotional and behavioral aspects of your relationship with money. And I actually didn't know that existed. I didn't know that there was such a thing as a financial therapist. So I'm honestly, I can't afford to have a therapist, but I think my employer might offer some kind of a EAP, Employee Assistance Program, I think is what they call it. And maybe I can call them. Maybe they have some suggestions for me. Maybe my insurance would even cover it. I don't know, but it's something that I think I might look into. All right, so that's all of the slides. I hope that this was interesting for you. I'm going to wrap up this slide right here, and then I will have a separate outro. Okay, so that was my presentation. I hope that you survived the whole thing. I feel like the information is helpful and valuable, not just to me, but to maybe other people who are going through this same type of situation, people who have the same feelings. And I hope that when you were watching it, maybe you were like going, yeah, nodding your head, like saying, yeah, I can relate to that. And if you are experiencing that, then know that you're not alone. And please tell me if you are, because then I will know that I'm not alone. All right. Well, thank you very much once again, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.